There ain't no future unless we build it now. There ain't no future unless we build it now. United States, Africa, we salute ya. A new state of mind, I introduce ya. Close your eyes and visualize the rise of a new paradigm. Solar powered skyscrapers.
Welcome to the Africa Must Unite podcast, a podcast dedicated to inspiring African people worldwide to rise up, organize, and struggle for Pan-Africanism, a unified, liberated, socialist Africa, the only permanent solution to the exploitation and oppression of African people, no matter where they happen to be born or happen to live in the world. Now please, welcome the hosts of Africa Must Unite.
Africa's future is now, so get ready.
Greetings, Africans. This is a new year. My name is Mama D.
Happy New Year. This is Sister Tasha.
This is, can you believe it, Tasha? This is 2020. And this is our 25th podcast.
Oh, wow. Yes.
I heard somebody the other day say, let's go in the year with the 2020 vision.
Yes.
They say it's going all around social media. 2020. And for us, we have a particular vision. And we're going to talk about that, right? That's going to help all African people. So, as usual, we're going to start off with reading our calendar dates for the month of January.
All right. This is January 2020, the first month of the year.
Woo.
Yes. So on that very first day of the year, we celebrated the last day actually of Kwanzaa, which is Imani, faith. And then also on that date, you have Cuban revolutionaries led by Castro and Guevara overthrow Batista in 1959. And then also on that same day, Haiti declares its independence in 1804.
Wow.
Yes. We're going to move on to January 5th, when 12,000 South African workers staged a strike at gold mine in 1975. And then the next day, on January 6th, in 1820, 86 Africans gained their freedom, then boarded the Mayflower and sailed from the New York harbor all the way to Sierra Leone. Wow. And then on January 8th, Andrew Ali was born in 1886. We also have African National Congress of South Africa was founded in 1912. You also had the CPP led by Nkrumah. He launched the Positive Action Campaign in 1950. And then that same day, Roy Innis, Congress of Racial Equality, died in 2018, which was just, 2 years ago now. And then on January 9th, we have Sekou Touré, was the first president of Guinea, which was born in 1922. And we also have Amari Baraka, which is also Leroy Jones, writer and activist, died in 2014. Yeah. We have our women coming up on January 10th. Amy Ashwood Garvey, co-founder of the UNIA. She was born in 1897. So then we go on down to January 15th. We have our Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., African freedom fighter, born in 1929. As well, on that same day, Gamal A. Nasser, first president of Egypt, was born in 1918. On January 17th, we have Patrice Lumumba, murdered by CIA-backed Congolese forces in 1961. We have another revolutionary coming on down to January 22nd, Nat Turner, slave revolt leader in Virginia. He was born in 1800. We also have, on that same date, we have the African Methodist Zion Church, founded in 1816. And then we have Sally Mugabe, was the freedom fighter in Zimbabwe that died in 1992. Going down, we have another revolutionary woman here on January 26th, Angela Davis, activist, author, and professor. She was born in Alabama in 1944. On that same day, historian and scholar Ivan van Sertima was born in Guyana. Is that how you say it, Mama D?
Guyana.
Oh, Guyana.
Yeah.
Okay. In 1935. And then on January 28th, Zora Neale Hurston, author and folklorist, died in 1960. We also have the hero of Cuban struggle, Jose Martini, born in 1853. Coming to the last 2 days of the month, on January 30th, we have Gandhi, the political and spiritual leader of the Indian independence movement. He was assassinated in New Delhi in 1948. And then on the last day of the month, January 31st, Jackie Robinson, a baseball player, he was born in Georgia in 1919.
Those are some really important days, Tasha. And, you know, what we always try to do is highlight anybody that's progressive. And we, of course, concentrate on African people. And no matter where they're born in the world, no matter where they happen to live, and any progressive person, like you mentioned Gandhi and some others, like Che Guevara and Marty, and these people played an important role in their struggle against imperialism, capitalism, and all of that. And they need to be honored, you know, because they're struggling for the people. So those are some powerful, powerful days. And of course, we always include our sisters, because, you know, sisters struggled, you know, and fought and for our liberation and all of that. So we can't exclude our sisters.
And a lot of times right next to the brothers.
I'm saying.
Right there.
And maybe ahead. What do you know? Sometimes ahead. So we are using this year, we want to highlight some revolutionary Pan-African socialist organizations. Not just those in one geopolitical area, but those at home, and that's Africa, and those abroad throughout the world. And we think this is an important topic because we need to know about these organizations that are out here struggling for what we consider the permanent solution to our problems as an African people. And just knowing these organizations, Tasha, helps to energize you. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That you're not the only organization out there, that you got this organization, this, you know, struggling for our people. And so we just want to take this year to really celebrate them. So what we want to say about them is that, starting off with a quote by Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, of course, who wrote in Class Struggle in Africa. He said, "The total liberation and unification of Africa under an all-African socialist government must be the primary objective of all black revolutionaries throughout the world. It is an objective which, when achieved, will bring about the fulfillment of the aspirations of Africans and people of African descent everywhere." But we know, Tasha, that only an organized people can achieve this objective of Pan-Africanism. I mean, if that weren't so, Nkrumah or Amy Garvey or any of our heroes and heroines that we celebrate would have done it. If an individual can achieve this, but we need all of us together, organized, to be able to achieve it. So we say only an organized people can achieve this objective of Pan-Africanism. So our organization, we are the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party. For 2020, our podcast will feature active revolutionary Pan-African socialist organizations that are based at home in Africa or that are in the African diaspora. All of these organizations share Dr. Nkrumah's belief that permanent liberation for African people will come about only when Africa is liberated, united, and socialist. And this objective of Pan-Africanism is the primary quest of each of the organizations that we have discussed throughout the year. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, some of these organizations are in Zimbabwe, Senegal, they could be in the Caribbean or Cincinnati, but all of them share the view that our permanent solution is a unified socialist Africa.
I love the fact, Mama D, that although everybody have different realities sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
we all come together with that same ideology.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes.
I mean, we never met. We maybe, or we never shared anything. It's just our common history, our common culture, our common current reality of exploitation and oppression brings us to that point. We don't have to ever have met or anything, but the fact that we can all come to that conclusion that this is the best solution for us means that we've studied our history. We are seeing our people struggle so hard and suffering, day after day. Some people dying in the ocean trying to come to a better way of life, aren't they? I mean, they coming out of Africa and trying to get to Europe or the U.S. and risking their lives and their babies' lives and dying in the ocean. So, when people who are revolutionaries or, look around the world and see what's going on and they know their history, they say this has to be the only solution for us, and that comes from a lot of study and a lot of commitment to your people. And Tasha, we were talking about this earlier, and some people say, well, why? I mean, why is it that Pan-Africanism is the best solution? And we're not talking about that's going to feed people today, are we?
Correct.
We're not talking about that's going to house somebody right now. We're talking about that's going to stop us from generation after generation having to struggle to find relief for our people. So we're really, organizations like ours are really talking about a permanent solution to the problems that we experience as a people. And we have this little thing that we always talk about, and in answering the question of why Pan-Africanism. And I'm just going to start, and we'll do this together, won't we, Tasha?
Yes, we will. So, Mama D, why is it so important?
Okay, all right. So we say a lot to people that worldwide socialism, that's an economic system that's designed to service the need of the majority of people anywhere in the country or in the world, and not just the profit for 1% of the population, for a greedy minority. Socialism is an economic system that when it produces, it's producing with the mindset of I'm helping my people, these people, and I'm not just servicing myself and profiting from the labor of my people. So we say that worldwide socialism will ultimately help cure the problems experienced by people around the world as a result of capitalism's negative impact. However, for African people, we understand that the quickest cure is Pan-Africanism, a unified socialist Africa. Instead of waiting years and years for institutions to be changed to guarantee fairness to all, no matter what their skin color is, Pan-Africanism will give African people the much-needed jumpstart toward full equality and justice. And why is that, Tasha?
So we talk about making sure that this is possible in all parts of the world, and making sure that we have these organizations everywhere. So in many locations of the world, African people make up only a small fraction of the population. So for example, in the USA, the fraction is about like 13.5%.
Yes.
Being such a small number of people living on someone else's land, African people in the U.S. can only come to the bargaining table as beggars, being dependent on the kindness and fairness of others.
Oh, that's an excellent point. It's true. You're too little as a people, to demand anything. And the other thing we say is that no people have ever managed to free themselves when their land has been controlled and exploited by another people. Fortunately, despite hundreds of years of exploitation, Tasha, Africa is still the wealthiest land base on the face of the earth.
Wow.
It's the second largest continent in the world and the second most populous. Isn't that something?
Yes, it is.
And power comes from the wealth that is produced by that land. For no people can achieve equality by begging for it. And wealth gives one the power to demand fair treatment throughout the world, fair prices for goods and services. And this all translates into respect and finally liberation.
Okay. So with that United Socialist Africa that we will be creating, African people will be able to stand on their own feet with their own wealth to be solidly behind them. African people will be able to demand justice as well as to trade on an equal footing. And African people will also have a new image, one of a powerful, beautiful people, where they happen to live in the world.
Wherever they happen to live in the world, and this is important because right now our image is so low. I mean, they don't know nothing about us. We might travel to Japan, but because we look the way we do, and Africa is so powerless, you know, your image always, and Malcolm said a long time ago, emerges from your land base. If your land base is seen as poor and lowly and dependent and all of that, you as a people, you know, no matter if you ever were lived or were born in Africa, just the fact that you are an African, no matter where you go. And we always use the example of China. It's so interesting because I was thinking about this morning, Tasha, the old kung fu movies with David Carradine. You remember him? If people go, I know it's all Hollywood, but if people go back and look at those movies, they can see how he was treated as a Chinese person, as representing a Chinese person when they were in the 19th century building the railroads and stuff like that out west. And we say, you know, before China closed its doors and freed itself from Western imperialism, a popular saying existed throughout the West, particularly in the U.S. You don't stand a Chinaman's chance in hell, of doing anything.
Wow. I still hear people say that today, Mama
Isn't
D.
that sad?
Yeah.
And you know, that's ignorance because China has raised itself up, you know, but then the Chinese people's condition throughout the world was so lowly that they were called niggers.
Oh, wow.
Today, Chinese are thought of as very intelligent people. It doesn't matter whether she ever opens her mouth. When a Chinese person walks into a room, you don't even know whether he is a third generation Chinese who speaks only English or someone who has just got off the boat from China. It does not matter. The image of the Chinese has evolved along with the evolution of the land-based China. So you don't have to have been born in China. If you're Chinese, you're getting respect and you're thought of as a certain way, in a positive way, because your land base is seen as positive. It's the second wealthiest, getting ready to be the wealthiest place on the face of the earth. And along with that, your image rises as the country rises. And we say for Africa, as it rises, so will our image rise. It's very important, you know, not only the material reality of us, you know, so that we can benefit from the wealth of Africa, but also our image as intelligent people or beautiful people. All of that will come about with a unified socialist Africa. So, you know, it's an important message. And Tasha, you know, these organizations that we'll be talking about throughout the year, they share that reality. As we said earlier, they share the whole objective of Pan-Africanism, that this is our permanent solution. So all of the ones that we'll be discussing this year, as each month when we do a podcast, they share the view that a unified socialist Africa is the only permanent solution for the exploitation and oppression experienced by African people. And some of these organizations, I just want to name some of them just so we can get energized right now, right Tasha?
Right. And it's always good, like, you know, we're the Pan-African Socialist Revolutionary Party. It's always good to hear that there's other organizations that share our same ideas. So I can't wait to hear these.
Okay. So, you know, we're going to be sharing and discussing the All African People's Revolutionary Party. We're going to be discussing the Amilcar Cabral Ideological School Movement, another organization, and the Jeff, another, the Cincinnati Pan-African Coalition, the Friends of the Congo, another one, the Pan-African Community Action, the Pan-African Federalist Movement of Nigeria, the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party, that's us, and the Zimbabwe Movement of Pan-African Socialists. So, and these are just some of them, but these organizations represent different parts of the world. So you could go from Zimbabwe and you can go to Guinea-Bissau, you can go to Senegal, you can go to the Congo, you see Nigeria. So all of these organizations all over the world have come to the conclusion that Pan-Africanism is the solution. And so we can't wait to, in future months, start talking about some things like what's going on in their area, what's going on in their country, the current reality. How did their organization get started? And how does the current reality of their state, we say state because we are hoping for a united states, a unified state of Africa, that we all come together. So sometimes instead of country, we say state. But why in their country, the current reality convinces them that a unified socialist Africa is the only permanent solution for the exploitation and oppression experienced by all African people, no matter where they happen to be born or live in the world. We're going to ask them if we have them be a part of our podcast. If they can be a part of our podcast, we're going to ask them that question live on our podcast. If not, we're going to get that information from them and report on it. But we do want to highlight these wonderful organizations that are all working for our people.
Yes. I'm excited for this year.
I know.
We're going to learn a lot.
This is exciting.
Yes. And then also just thinking about how those various Pan-African revolutionary organizations talk about how they're struggling, how they're struggling throughout the world to bring about the Pan-Africanism, and then just how are we going to build this unified socialist Africa? What does that look like?
Right.
How do we do it?
Oh man,
we know that
Isn't
we
that
have to
beautiful?
organize.
Yes, and what are going to take us the steps that we need to deal with? And one of the things that we're going to do to answer that whole point that you just brought up is to talk about one strategy, and that's next month when you join us in February. We'll discuss the need for all these revolutionary Pan-African organizations that we are highlighting to form a coalition, to come together and share and be able to better teach and better organize our people. Because if you come, you're building a bigger and bigger entity. So though we are Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party here and somebody else is the All-African People's Revolutionary Party, just think we're doing magnificent things now, I hope the people will say. But if we all came together
it just
and
sounds
did
powerful.
some joint action, wouldn't that be even more powerful?
Yes.
So next month, we're going to talk about what that will mean
Yes.
for us.
All right, and in the meantime, please leave us comments on our website, prsponline.org. You can like us on soundcloud.com, visit us on YouTube, or like us on Facebook.
Oh, isn't that beautiful? And the other day, I Googled us and we popped up. So, just Google us and we'll pop up. But please remember, organization is the key. Join us, the Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist Party, or some other Pan-African Revolutionary Socialist organization. A union of African socialist states is on the horizon. Now let's listen to Buju Banton, African Pride.